So this is Maria Meyer, your executive director of Your Women's Fund. We're not a membership organization. You come, you pay attention, you fuel us in any way, participate in any way, and this is Your Women's Fund. So I welcome you all, and I know it's a very meaningful holiday time for many of you. So please enjoy, and a beautiful, gorgeous spring day to all of us, no matter what you're celebrating. We have some incredible board members, and our founder, Marilyn Gladstone, who's 88, maybe 89, I'll have to ask her, welcomes you as well. We have a special welcome for our brand new board members, and Sylvia Faiduti is not a W. She's actually a very strong, wonderful person who hasn't gotten her headshot into us yet. But we welcome Sylvia, Celine Silverio, Lucia Davis-Rayford, Rebecca Dinar, and Kristen Francisco is our brand new members to this incredible, powerful, break a sweat board. So thank you all for all you do. Incredibly, we also have lots of county officials and staff joining us today. So we thank you very much, Miami-Dade County, and special thanks to Representative Skidmore's fabulous team. Gwen, who's with us here today, and all the team who's worked together on the bill and to get all this material and everything all set with Camila. We have 4 pillars. Today, our focus is on health and well-being, and that is empowered by the Citrus Family Care Network. So those pillar sponsors help us give you what you need to know and what you can do about health for women and girls, health and well-being for women and girls in our community. And moving forward, please, Kami, we also, that also includes a public awareness campaign with each pillar. So this is one that we have done. Your health should be first. Your health should be first. So we have programs like this monthly convening, the impact collaboratives. We have our second program is public awareness campaigns. And our third and newest, most incredible program is research and data. Because when we do not have data, we are invisible, and we don't want women and girls to be invisible. So we're going to ask our fearless leader, Viviana Alvarado Pacheco, to take over and explain a little bit about what we've got and what you can see.
Good morning, everybody. In the spirit of being super real, I'm getting over a cold, so apologies in advance if I have to cough. Good morning. Thank you for being with us today. So for our data and research section, although we are focusing on this issue as a health and well-being issue, we want to highlight that it's also an economic mobility issue, because women's poverty rate is also a factor into their period poverty. And in Miami-Dade County, women's poverty rate is 3 percentage points higher than men's, with Black or African-American women's poverty rate increasing in 2020. This is important to highlight as it also affects women's ability to access education and to be able to advance economically in the future. If you have any questions, if you'd like to check out our dashboard, which is highlighted here, I will put the link in the chat, and I will also put in my information. Thank you.
Please do click on it, and please do use it, because your Women's Fund is working diligently to create a post-silo Miami for women and girls. Sharing data and information is absolutely critical to that. We can accelerate how we can make Miami-Dade a place where women and girls could truly thrive if we get out of our silos and share data and more. So please join it. These impact collaboratives are designed to focus on what you should know and what you can do. And Representative Kelly Skidmore has done a terrific job of doing both of those things. So please pay attention. There will be a call to action. Thank you very much. And please, Kami, Representative Skidmore. Vivi, we're going to need to put up the volume.
Give me 1 second.
Representative Skidmore recorded this for us last night because she was called away to another meeting, and it's absolutely terrific, but it is pre-recorded as of last night, fresh off the presses.
Here we go.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about period poverty and the bill that I have filed to help address this issue. Period poverty is broadly understood as the inability to access menstrual hygiene products. It affects women and girls globally, causing physical, mental, and emotional challenges. In the United States, studies have also shown that period poverty impacts girls' education.
Okay,
According to a 2021 study by Thinks and Period, 1 in 4 teens missed class because of lack of access to period products. That rate is up from 1 in 5 teens in 2019. Currently, 15 states and Washington, D.C. have passed legislation to ensure students have access to free period products while in school. When we talk about period poverty and how it impacts students in Florida, we're addressing the fact that Florida has the 4th largest school system in the country, with 23% of students living below the poverty line and 50% qualifying for free or reduced lunch. Florida's total student population is close to 3 million students, which means that approximately half of that population is affected by lack of access to period products. But that's only part of the story. There are many more girls who are simply experiencing their period while in school and are just unprepared. We've all either been the one needing the sweater or loaning the sweater to tie around our waist when we've bled through our clothes. Or maybe we felt the panic of suddenly realizing that our period started early and we have to figure out a way to make it to the nearest restroom. Some of us have even had the shock of our very first period starting in the middle of a school day without warning. Whether their period happened without warning or they simply don't have the money or means to purchase period products, our students have very few options to remedy their situation while in school. Some schools in Florida may supply pads and tampons, but they're only available in the nurse's office or the clinic. I'm sure you understand why this isn't good enough. Some of our high schools look more like small college campuses, and getting from one end of the school to the other to quickly get a pad can be quite a feat. Not to mention, girls have to ask for permission to go to the clinic and then again ask the nurse for the product every single time they need it. For a middle school student, this has got to be mortifying, and for an elementary school student, possibly terrifying. And this is in the schools that actually have the product on hand, and most don't. Let me take a moment to talk a little bit more about the embarrassment that women and girls feel when they get their periods. The same 2021 study by Thinks and Period found that most teens surveyed reported feelings of shame, self-consciousness, and embarrassment about their periods. That shouldn't come as a shock to anyone. For generations upon generations, menstruation has been a taboo subject, something we simply couldn't discuss, something we should hide. Periods happen. They happen to half the world's population for several days a month, starting in the tween years and lasting for about 40 years. It's time we stop feeding into the shame and stigma of this biological function. We need to show our girls, and everyone for that matter, that periods are normal and nothing to be ashamed of. We can start by talking about our periods and the products we need to manage them. But more importantly, we need to act. One way to do that is by making tampons and pads easily accessible to students. Having period products in student bathrooms in public schools would send a clear message of support and understanding. Understanding that periods are a part of life, and support by ensuring that no student goes without this basic hygiene product. By making the product visible and easily accessible, it actually becomes more private. No need to talk to anyone about your period or any other bodily function. You just go to the restroom and use whichever product you need: toilet paper, paper towels, or period products. This was the impetus for House Bill 389, which is now committee substitute for House Bill 389. The original filed bill required school districts to provide free period products in 25% of girls' restrooms in schools. The language in that bill received a lot of pushback, specifically questioning the cost of providing the products, which I think is an investment in our young girls. But in an effort to move the discussion forward and bring the issue of period poverty and the need for these products in our school system to the forefront, the stakeholders and I agreed that we needed to compromise. The new version of the bill simply allows school districts to make menstrual hygiene products available in each school district at no charge and stipulates where the products may be located. In the school nurse's office and other health services facilities, restrooms, including wheelchair accessible restrooms. And the legislation will ensure that the schools inform students as to the availability and location of the period products. And finally, the bill encourages school districts to partner with nonprofit and non-governmental organizations like education foundations, businesses, and other entities, such as those represented in this webinar today, to assist in supplying and maintaining the menstrual hygiene products and our vending machines. This version of the bill received its first hearing last week. It was the first time in many years that legislators in Florida House heard testimony from advocates in a committee meeting regarding this bill and the need for period products in schools. It was a significant step in destigmatizing periods and highlighting a very real need in our schools. All members of the committee voted favorably for the bill, and I'm hopeful the bill will be placed on the agenda of its last committee of reference in the coming weeks. That's where you come in. This is your call to action. Contact the members of the Education and Employment Committee and request that CS for HB 389 be placed on the committee's agenda as soon as possible. Explain the need for students to have easy access to menstrual products so that they don't have to miss school. Tell them your own period story to help remove the shame around talking about periods. Remind them that periods happen to half the population and that population votes. I would also ask that you go beyond helping pass this legislation. Reach out to your local public schools and ask if they provide products. And if they don't, ask how you can help. Then contact your local school district and do the same. Get involved with these organizations who already do this good work and help them reach more schools and more students. This is a need that will not go away until every school has period products easily available to everyone who needs them. So there's still lots of work to do. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak with you about period poverty. I'm sorry I wasn't able to join you in person, but my staff is on this webinar and ready to answer any questions you may have. Thanks again.
Amazing, amazing. Again, our thanks to Representative Skidmore and Senator Book, who worked very closely with the representative. It's an amazing team we have, and we're so grateful to you, Gwen, for joining us and telling us more about the call to action.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, everyone. Good morning. Representative Skidmore, I can't emphasize enough how sad she was to not be able to join you this morning. This has been one of her, if not her priority this year, priority bills. Our office has been working hard. We did a period product drive during the month of March that ended up being really, really well received. We got a lot of donations through an online submission that we did in partnering with some of our organizations that are working with us. And with regard to the call to action, what we're asking now from you all is to please contact the Education and Employment Committee in the House and request that the new version of the bill be placed on the agenda. That's House Bill 389. We would also ask that you call the committees where it's agendaed over on the Senate side. It hasn't had any movement on the Senate side, so if you could maybe contact Leader Book's office and see how they can also assist you. But contact the committees that are for the bill on that side, which I believe is 344. I'm not remembering the number right now, but contact those committees and ask them to agenda the bill. But as Representative Skidmore mentioned, 334, thank you, Takeda. As Representative Skidmore mentioned, as much as we want this legislation to pass, and it's important that we get some of this language into the statutes, it's most important that we actually get the product out to the students and the people who need them. And so if you reach out to your local school districts and to your local public schools, this is how those organizations, those institutions, those teachers, those administrators realize that this is a real need, and that the community understands that it's a need, and therefore it needs to be addressed. And so I would ask, and she would ask, that you reach out to those, to your own community, the schools and the districts in your own community, and let them know that you know this is an important issue, that you're willing to help, and they might be able to guide you in that way. If there's anything that our office can do to help guide you or to help connect you with any of the organizations that are here, we have some very strong contacts within this group also. Please reach out to us. We're always available. I know that some of our other staff is on the webinar. Our district aide, Amy Chamberlain, is with us, and we have several interns who have also been helping so much to make sure that we get this legislation heard and passed. So we appreciate your support. And again, anything that we can do, just reach out to our office.
Thank you so much, Gwen. You've already gotten something big done. I know the one of our leaders, Marcia Narayan Weldon, is on. She's a chair of our Legislative and Advocacy Committee, and this idea of going locally to our school districts in parallel to making sure that products are here, that's terrific. So thank you very much. Please, this is your webinar, everyone. We keep the cameras off for you so you can do what you want to do, but we expect you to be fully present. This is your chat. These are your polls that do inform our work, mightily inform our work. So please participate. Do put your questions in the Q&A and use this chat, especially to share calls to action and information about how you can connect. We are going to go on and going to ask each of our amazing leaders who are our panelists today to introduce themselves in context of today's webinar, just in a couple minutes. So Nikki and family, welcome.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name, this is my daughter, Amani, future Period girl. My name is Nikki Dawkins. I'm the president of Period Miami. I also am the national community manager of Period. And I am a reproductive health doula. So I actually do work in the wellness space on this topic. I work with students, I work with parents, and from menarche all the way to menopause. So this is a very important issue for me, and I'm very excited to talk to you all about it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your leadership and for being here, both of you. Anya, please introduce yourself in context of today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anya Patel. I am a high school senior from Tampa, Florida. I have a nonprofit called Global Girls Initiative that focuses on providing free menstrual hygiene products and education to youth and students in underserved communities.
Terrific. Leaders and more leaders. Speaking of great leaders, Stephen, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. My name is Stephen, he, him pronouns, please. And I am the, as on the slide, I'm the policy director for PRISM Florida. So PRISM is a youth-led, youth-run organization. We're working to expand access to LGBT inclusive education here in South Florida, as well as providing sexual health education resources and advocating for it within our school districts. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I should say.
That's terrific work. Again, leadership. So we're going to go to each of our three panelists and ask you, what are you seeing? What do we need to know? We are here in this webinar, and the webinar repeats and replays that will follow. Tell us, what are you seeing in your real work? What should we know?
I'll go first. So I know for me, being hands-on in the ground, what I'm seeing is really just a lack of access, and also just a lack of education surrounding the topic of what period poverty is and what menstrual equity is. And for me, what I see a lot too is just from the students, their stories, their struggles, Last year, we collected over 100 period stories. We then ended that with an amazing packing party with Miss Universe, who her platform was menstrual equity last year. She came into Miami and we were able to actually create, I believe it was, we did over 30,000 products that day that we donated. And we are still getting requests for more, especially now with all the new bills and things coming out. We are getting a lot of requests from schools in particular. So a lot of pressure is getting put on nonprofits like Period, like the Beauty Initiative, and other people working in the space. And that's kind of the problem. We are short. My office, the products come in, they go out immediately. In addition to that, there is little education around these products and the fact that there are options around these products. Another really big goal for Period is to make periods more sustainable. Period underwear is such a great tool for young adolescent girls. And one of the things that we're working on doing right now is a partnership with Nick's Underwear, KT, to provide these products to schools. And that's, sorry, she's excited too. But that is a project that we're actually going to be launching next month, and we will be serving, I believe we're doing 8 schools in Miami and Broward as a pilot program. So if you are a school and are interested in participating in that program with us, we would love for you to connect. I'll drop the link later in the chat. But what I'm seeing is that we need to kind of approach this from a different angle as well, because period products come in many options and people don't know that. And I think for schools and for young students, having something that's reusable and sustainable can be really helpful. Of course, this also only can apply to people who I guess have the ability to maintain those products. And that's also something that we have to think about. But the point is that we want to give people an option. If you can have a product that you can reuse and have something that's stable for you, we want to get you into that product as opposed to having you keep using the reusables. So that is just another angle I feel that we need to consider with period poverty, is that sustainability. And I think I have another slide here. I don't know if you want to go to the next one. Yes, and then again, going back to the education, as a menstrual health educator myself, this is what I do. I do workshops like this, and there's really no standard for that. And I think that goes for the teachers and the nurses as well, having the language to know how to talk to younger students about their period so that they feel comfortable, and also the language to use with the parents when this happens. So I think there's a lot of things that we kind of have to work on here in Miami, because I'm seeing this from so many different angles based on the work that I do. And Rep Skidmore already went over these amazing stats of period poverty that you can see here, so I won't repeat that. But for me, I just feel like there's, sorry, I just dropped something. I'm seeing that there's just an increased need for people to have these products, and we do not have the supplies to give it to them. We just don't have the means, and that's kind of where we're at right now with it.
Well, no apologizing for amazing young daughters, and no apologizing for any of us and all of us here for talking about these things that are so important. I love when we put together, and Camila wrote the blurb for this. If you walk into a public restroom and there's no toilet paper, there's no soap, there are no hand towels, it's not right for anybody. And this is exactly the same thing with these products. And if we don't talk about it, and if we don't talk about the alternatives that you've just shared with us, Nikki, I bet you many people hadn't ever had that in their foremind, at least of consciousness, of the alternative of reusable products. So this session is amazing. And Anya, we're going to ask you to tell us what you're seeing and continue this incredible leading conversation.
Okay. So I am a high school senior, so I've seen a lot of things dealing with periods within schools. I'm kind of going to go back to a little bit about how I started my nonprofit and what I saw in schools that motivated me to start it. This was my sophomore year, and I was going to the nurse's office for a headache or something, but I saw another girl come up to the nurse asking for a pad, but she was turned away very quickly. And I had heard about period poverty in the past, but I knew about it from third world countries that my parents were from, like India and Kenya, and I never really thought of it being something in America that we saw. So I kind of questioned my nurse, and I was like, oh, like, why'd you turn that girl away from a pad? And she was like, yeah, there's no funding in schools for period products at all. Dozens of girls will come to me every week, but I have to turn them down because we have no funding for these products. And I attend a Title I school, so that means about 50% of the students that attend this school come from low income, below the federal poverty households. So it was just kind of eye-opening to realize that, so many of these girls are missing out on such a basic hygiene necessity within schools, and it's affecting their attendance to classes, their participation in extracurricular activities. And honestly, it's just hurting their overall confidence because they aren't able to attend these things. And they're constantly worrying about, do I have a product that I can go out in public with? So I have been a real champion for putting dispensers inside of school bathrooms, which is very similar to what this bill is doing, being able to ensure that period product accessibility in schools. I have finally been able to put menstrual hygiene dispensers in all of the Title I high schools and later middle schools in Hillsborough County. So I'm very happy about that one. Yeah.
That is amazing. You are on the ground and you're giving us the cutting edge information that we need. Stephen, can you do the same for us, please? Tell us, what are you seeing?
I'm muted. Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm coming at this as a trans man. So just clarify terminology. I was assigned female at birth. And then when I hit age 18, 19, I started to identify as a man, more masculine presentation. The thing that I want to highlight with my short time here, I'm keeping myself on a timer, is the way we talk about and present menstrual hygiene products. So big trends with hygiene products is that they are like female oriented. They're pink. They have the Venus symbol. They are thought of only as a woman's product for a woman's issue, and this significantly impacted me, for example, as a trans person. I have gender dysphoria, so I experience significant distress when it comes to not feeling like I'm living my gender presentation the way I want to. And I still get periods, which can be very psychologically distressing for me. And there have been times where, my dysphoria, it has been so bad, especially before I had access to, hormones and transition related care, that I prefer just to bleed out through my clothes than to sort of deal with this product that just didn't feel right for me. So and it's a reality for a lot of transgender people, transgender men and masculine people. A lot of the time we feel invisible and excluded, not just from marketing of these products, feminine hygiene products versus menstrual, which is more inclusive. But a lot of people that I've noticed, especially on both sides of the political aisle, have an issue with inclusive language. There has been a significant amount of pushback from people trying to say, maybe we should, at least in a medical, like clinical context, talk about, pregnant people or people who menstruate. And it seems like something very small to a lot of people. Why does it matter? But if we want to have a broader discussion that really can uplift everyone who deals with period poverty, who deals with this normal natural function, we really need to be thinking about all people who deal with it. It's largely impacts women and girls, but it does go beyond that. I guess I just want you to think about that as we talk about solutions. Oh, my timer is going off. Oh no.
You're perfect.
I'm beneath that. But I was just about done, so thank you.
No, you're perfect. And we're going to come back to you with calls to action. So thank you so much for that all important voice. Everybody, please participate in the polls as we go back to Nikki and ask her for solutions, calls to action. What can we do? Nikki.
I'm here. I'm here. What can we do? Oh my goodness. Well, there's so many things that we can do. I think starting with what Gwen mentioned, as far as just getting this issue resolved in the house is most important. So those links that she shared, I definitely want to encourage people to do that. Also, I really think it's important to just share your story. I believe Takita shared a link there where you can share your story with her. And I think having things like that is really, really important. Sharing your period story, whether that's period poverty, it could be you, your sister, whoever. Please put those stories out there, and also make sure you're talking to your teachers and your school administrators. I did some tours yesterday. I'm switching schools for my son next year. And that was like the first thing I asked, do you guys provide period products in school? And he's not a menstruator, but still going in and asking those questions and then asking the why. Would you like product? Is that something you'd like to do? I think is important, being that there's this new really unfortunate bill out there for the elementary school not being able to talk about their periods. It's it's a huge problem for me, who sees young people get their periods at age 7. I think that voicing that, those parents who do have kids in elementary school who are getting their periods, you need to like speak up that that's happening to them, because a lot of these administrators don't understand that. They just cannot grasp the fact that happens to young people at that age. So I really want to emphasize just using your voice and putting that out there. Use your social media, talk to your friends and family about this. A lot of this stuff starts, I feel like, at home and in your own communities, just by talking about it and smashing the stigma and changing the language around periods. So in addition to that, you can also, yes, check out Period Movement and see all the great things that we have going on. We have a lot of toolkits and resources. We do a lot of workshops and webinars as well on menstrual equity and how to combat it in your community. We also have chapters if you're interested in that. If not, we're happy to collaborate and partner with your organization as well. We are all about just making sure that this happens. We're all about making sure that this crosses all of the states. So whatever we can do to make that happen, we're here to support you. So please feel free to email me directly as well. I do also want to take the time to just give a really brief shout out to Ashley Eubanks, who is the founder of the Beauty Initiative. A lot of people don't know, but she is actually the initiator of this Learning with Dignity Act years ago. She's been working on this for a long time. And so I do want to bring her up because she, I think, was one of the first people to work with Senator Book on this issue. So yes, that's what you can do. Just use your voice, speak up, don't be shy. This is a natural process. This is going to happen. You would not be here if a period didn't start, so get over it. All right, it doesn't end a sentence, it starts life. Let's embrace this natural process, please. Thank you.
I know the crowd is going wild. I can hear their applause. So I just did it for them, Nikki. I know everybody's so excited. This is an amazing panel. And I want you all to know that this will live as of tomorrow. It will be up on our website and our YouTube. So you can use this. You can take it to your classes. You can take a part of it. You can take all of it. Please, please, please. Let's help spread the word. Let's get ourselves visible. Anya, tell us, what are your calls to action from where you sit?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to piggyback off of what Nikki said, and using your voice, especially my youth out there. I know it can be really scary sometimes being like, no one's going to listen to what I have to say, or I don't know how to go about this. But I think it's so important to know that us as youth, even though we think that we don't have a voice, our voice is so powerful, especially within stuff like school systems, because those are directed especially to us. They want to hear our voices. So just going out and telling your story, going out to maybe your school board meetings. That's how I got started on my dispenser initiative. And I got to meet board members, because there are people out there who just don't know about period poverty. It's not like they don't want to help. They're just not informed about the issue. So if you go out there and just speak about it, someone is bound to come help you. So speaking out at school board meetings, and honestly, just on social media, just getting awareness about the issue out there.
Awesome.
I muted. Please take it away.
Yes, I set a timer just to keep myself on track because I tend to ramble. But yeah, so solutions that I can proffer, sort of starting with kind of internal work, unpacking our biases, so that we can really move forward for the change we want to see. You know, like I mentioned before, I've seen pushback for inclusive language on both sides of the aisle. You know, it's not a Democrat Republican issue. It's, you know, everyone. You know, we've had this idea ingrained that, you know, periods are just a female thing, that they're, you know, they're just a woman thing. But sort of thinking like, why, if you are like a little put off by that language, you know, why does saying pregnant people, like, why does that threaten you? Or why does that bother you? I also would just say, you know, listening to, you know, trans people like myself, but not just me, because there are many of us that are so passionate about period poverty, reproductive justice, and just really like sort of taking the time to listen to what we have to say. And, you know, may I not be the first or last person that you listen to when it comes to the trans community, because there's so many different beautiful people out there who are much better informed than even I can be. You know, pushing for, you know, gender neutral marketing of products, being more inclusive to everyone, and like letting everyone feel safe, you know, finding these products. And just, you know, reaching out to, you know, trans-led organizations, or, you know, women-led organizations, you know, so we can find those solutions. And we do need financial help. It's, you know, all of these, you know, initiatives, you know, like getting period products, there's a financial cost to all of it. So if you can give anything to organizations like $5, $10, $20, every little bit goes a very long way. I know we all feel small, but, you know, it's together that we make change. So thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you for being here and for your leadership. Amazing. What a luxury of a morning. I started this saying, never be boring and never waste anybody's time. I think everybody here is feeling that this time is incredibly well spent. Please now join. We have a very special support while you're filling in your poll and thinking about your questions that you're going to post there in the Q&A. We have the luxury of another student leader who's going to join us to lead with the first questions. Jasmine, can you please introduce yourself and tell everybody why you're here?
Yeah, of course I can. Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm a part of the Coalition Against Period Poverty, and I am 17 years old. The reason why I'm here is because I believe it is very important that people educate themselves on periods and how they work, and educate themselves on how they can help people who have periods. And see, as a person who does not identify as a woman, you know, well, who doesn't identify as female, I think it's very important to at least talk about like the struggles that other people go through, if I'm making sense. But what Stephen was saying earlier about the inclusivity, not a lot of products go out to people who like don't identify as female. And, you know, as a person who is non-binary, I don't really necessarily, the only thing I can relate to when it comes to the woman part is having a period, and that's the only thing I can relate to. But other than that, I don't mind helping women and girls, young girls including, with their periods. So yeah.
Well, we're so glad to have you with us, and we're going to ask you to go ahead and ask the first question to the panel.
Of course. So my first question is, what inspired you guys to do what you're doing now? Like, what was the cause? What was the push? What was the epiphany, if I will?
Should we go in the same order? Nikki, do you want to take it first?
Sure. Oh my gosh, it's such a really big question for me. I think the big push for me was just that I was very fortunate to have an environment where I could openly speak about my period. And I really wanted more people to have that once I realized they did not. And I feel like it was the same path for me becoming a doula. I realized that people didn't know that that they could have this experience or that this existed. I'm sorry, I think my still hearing me, my AirPods just died. But yeah, for me, it was that I really just felt like there needed to be a space for this. There needed to be somebody coming in and doing this work because there wasn't. And I knew it was a need. I started the chapter Period Miami back in 2018. And at that time I was already a period coach, and I was working with a shelter, and I realized that period supplies were something that they needed. And so I started the chapter, and I started doing educational workshops within these period packing parties because I realized the community was not educated, and they also didn't have a space to just openly talk about their period. And sometimes I would get parents and kids come in and they would find out things about their kid that they didn't know. And I realized that periods are just this great starter point for talking about reproductive health just in general, because it starts with your period. And I think for me, that was kind of the passion. I am obsessed with periods. I'm the period girl. Like I said, monarchy to menopause, I am just like here for it. And I just have a lot of passion behind it. So for me, it was just having that passion and wanting to give a space for other people to be able to do the same thing, and also for people to get educated and also become advocates for their community as well, because there is a space for that we do also. So that's, I guess, my why.
Well, one of our second pillars is leadership, and you definitely embody that. So we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. Anya, how about you?
Hi. So, growing up, I never really had that issue with worrying about not having access to period products, or I never was really exposed to period stigma. I think my family was very always open about it. And my mom was always open about her experiences and how in India, what it was like, where they would have to use rags and cloths for their period. And, there was no period products available anywhere near them. So when I kind of touched on this a few questions ago, but I was talking about how when I went into the nurse's office and I realized that girls were experiencing what was happening in third world countries in America, that was really eye-opening. And it was just so shocking to see that this issue was impacting people that I knew. My peers were being affected by this. So I knew that I had to kind of do something. I planned on just donating and collecting period products to give to my school and my nurse's office, but I got so much support from it, and I realized just how much of a need there is for period products that it just kind of grew into something this big.
Terrific, terrific. Stephen, how did you come to this?
Yeah, so I sort of started advocacy last summer, like really getting into my work with PRISM. And the reason why, I mean, a lot of my advocacy, I'm like, fighting for LGBT inclusion and, for reproductive justice. I have a lot of things on my plate. But sort of at the center of my priorities is trans people, trans community. And a lot of that, I don't want to get too personal, but a lot of that is I have had to deal with a lot of stigma for my identity, from my parents. I came out in 2020, like a couple weeks after lockdown started. And it was a very, very difficult time for me. I love my parents, but they are, both immigrants from Colombia. It was a cultural shock. It was, something that they didn't have experience with, they weren't used to, and they reacted negatively. And so my goal is, I started thinking about, I want to make the world a better place so that people like me don't have to go through that same the same trials and tribulations that I have to. I want a world where someone can come out as a trans guy or a trans girl and it's not weird. No one thinks about it like any differently than anyone else. I know we're a long way off from that, and I don't know if we'll ever see that in my lifetime, but any sort of foundational stones that I can lay to a world where people like me are normalized, that's what I want to do. And so I've sort of thrown myself into it as much as I can. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your service and your leadership. You're at home. You're home here. And lots of people are going to take what you've been talking about and run with it far into their network. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Jasmine, question number 2.
Okay. My second question is, well, this will be like kind of too much, but like in your own words, would you define what period poverty means to you, like in your own sense of words, without like everything, if that makes sense?
Nikki, are you good to go first?
Sure. I mean, what period poverty means to me is not having the means to get access to the products that you need for menstruation. I feel like that is the general definition. For me, it's also a lack of education. I feel like it's period poverty. I feel like not having the knowledge and not having the body literacy and the empowerment to be able to talk about your menstrual cycle is poverty. So I hope that answers your question in short.
Awesome. Anya.
Yeah, so I was kind of going to say the same thing, how it's not just lack of access to period products, but also period education and knowledge. I think it also extends to, restroom facilities and toilets. And I feel like we don't struggle with that too much in the US, but it is a very prominent issue in other third world countries that deal with period poverty. And I think period poverty kind of goes deeper than just not having access to the product. It goes into physical health and mental health and not having confidence, not being able to get an education because you're missing out on class, not being able to participate in extracurricular activities. And it just stems into all of these other different effects.
Great. Stephen.
Yeah, so for me, period poverty is obviously, financial poverty, not being able to access or afford menstrual products, especially because they're considered a luxury good to some people. Don't know how that's possible. But it's also, mental and social barriers, like Anya mentioned, mental health, for example, like be it, dysphoria or just a general sense of shame because society's told you that this is something to keep behind closed doors, that, like even seeing a pad wrapped is just too much, right? So it's both, overcoming financial issues, but also overcoming like cultural ideas of surrounding periods.
What you're saying is so important, and we talk about it a lot with the team. We had something about the pink tax last year, and the pink tax used to be considered just an economic thing, like a pink razor was more expensive than a blue razor, or dry cleaning for for different shirts could be different. But it's also the cost it has for health, that the resuscitation dummies didn't have breasts on them. And so a lot of people were afraid to resuscitate it live if a woman had breasts, one, because they didn't know how to do it and they felt uncomfortable. So there are all kinds of things, from cardio to the way that cars and safety bags, are tested. So there's a pink tax, has been called, but there's a human tax of not considering everyone. And that can be life and death, not just part of your wallet and your pocketbook. So Jasmine, I'm going to ask you for your third question, and I'm going to ask if Kami, if you can also invite Gwen from Representative Skidmore's office to join us for the Q&A as well. I think we're going to throw some things at her eventually. Jasmine, go ahead.
My third question, when has someone ever, when was the first time someone has ever made you feel shamed for having a period, or even talking about it, period? No pun intended.
Who wants to take that one first? Nikki, are you good, or?
Can you re-ask the question, please?
And when was the first time someone has ever made you feel shamed about your period, or made you feel shame for talking about it at all?
The first time, or just any time?
like anytime, it doesn't like, I meant that as well too, like first time, anytime, whichever, whenever it has happened.
Oh man, I feel like that's happened several times throughout my life. But I'll just go with, I feel like the most shocking time was when I was in college, a grown person. I've always been very open about talking about my period. And I remember a professor saying to me like, hey, keep that to yourself. When I was talking about it to a friend in the hall, because I was just walking with my pad. I didn't really care. And I just remember that was honestly the first time that I felt like some sort of shame about it, to be honest with you. I never really felt shame about talking about my period, but that professor, I guess maybe being that she was my superior, and also, you know, another menstruator at that, I was just kind of like, wow, like my own, you know, people are telling me not to have my pad in my hand and talking to my friend about my period. So I think for me, that time was just really shocking and surprising because I was older and I just thought I was past them. And I didn't see that coming.
Who
Right?
else would like to take that? Anya, have you seen something?
Yeah, sorry, I think I got kicked out of the Zoom for a couple of seconds, so I didn't hear the question.
Oh, the question was, when was the first time or any time someone has made you feel shame for having a period and talking about it or talking in a general sense?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever had that issue just because I came from a very like open family about periods because my mom suffered from period poverty and having that stigma around her. So she always made sure that me and even my brother always knew about periods.
It's amazing that breaking the chain in anything, breaking a chain in violence and all kinds of things. That's a different kind of violence. It's amazing. That's a powerful story too. Stephen, how about you? Do you want to share anything?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, you know, I was living and presenting as a girl up until around 2020. So all my formative experiences, you know, I was moving through the world as a girl. And I have a very sort of distinct memory from, I believe, my freshman year of high school. So I was about 14 at the time. And I had my period right in the middle of class. And I was like, oh, geez, I forgot to bring, a pad or something. So I sort of tapped the girl in front of me and I was like, hey, excuse me, do you have a pad that I can borrow? Like, I really need one. And she gave it to me, and so I sort of got up to just go to the bathroom with it in my hand, and she was like, no, you have to like put that away, like hide that, like you can't let anyone see it though. And I was so confused in the moment because I was like, what? Um I was just absolutely like confused, like what's the big deal? What does it matter? Like everyone knows that we get periods, so it's not like it's a secret. um and I sort of like have reflected on that over the years, because even though it was not something that I had considered, because my family was also very open. My parents are both medical people, so they gave me the talk relatively soon. But sort of I thought about that, and it's like, even though it wasn't a big deal for me, it was a big deal for her. And I sort of feel for her because no one should have to feel that kind of shame. And it sort of also makes me think about the way that, from this societal stigma, we sort of reinforce it in each other almost, even without meaning to. So yeah.
That's so the truth. I'm going to ask at least one of you from Representative Skidmore's office to talk about the shame. The representative mentioned that the original bill had to be morphed, right?
Yes.
There was a compromise.
Yes.
And am I wrong in guessing that had to do something with shame, or everybody not feeling like that was appropriate for all their schools?
Yes. So I think partially the biggest pushback that we got, at least in open discussion, had to do with the financial cost, the financial burden that would be placed on the school districts, in order, if that was a mandated cost upon them, and how they would come up with the money. And Representative Skidmore, consistently, her response was, as many have already mentioned here, it is a hygienic product that people use, right? It's not by choice. This isn't this isn't something that it's not a luxury. And unfortunately, sometimes it is thought of that way. And so that was the open dialogue, or that was the open pushback that we got. But even in conversations, we have male interns on our staff. And this was the second year, actually, the Representative Skidmore filed the bill. So this is the second year that we as staff were working on it together. But in this particular instance, we had a male intern with us during a conversation with one of the representatives. And one of the first comments that was made to him was, "Oh, this must be so uncomfortable for you." To which he replied, "Not really." He's a young person. This is actually an issue that he has been advocating for at his university. And I think there is a lot of shame associated with discussing periods, especially from elected officials. These are people who are in realms that are often a little bit more closed off, older generations, who aren't as in touch with current language that is being used, with the youth and what is important to the youth sometimes. Not that they're not wanting to hear that from you, they're just not hearing it as often as they could or should. And so, yes, I do think that shame is part of it. There was even though in the committee meeting that the bill was heard this time around, there were wonderful comments from people in the audience. In fact, Amaya from the Girl Flow came up and also spoke. She runs an organization up in Tallahassee in Leon County, and was able to get period products in that school district through her efforts. She spoke very well, and there were other people in the audience who came and spoke very well, but there were very little comments made by the members themselves. And even though it was all very well received, I personally think that, yes, part of the reason that there weren't so many comments, even though they are supportive of the issue, is because there is still very much a stigma surrounding speaking about periods. And just on a personal note, I have to say that in my house, I personally have never experienced, I can't recall having experienced period shame per se. But I do have a 9-year-old who openly talks about periods and mommy's period, and without any shyness or understanding of how dangerous it can be. He says, "Are you on your period? Are you not feeling well?" Dangerous, right? But it's my little contribution to the world, in the sense of we all need to be able to talk about it. There's no shame. Absolutely no shame. It's something that happens, and he should be comfortable in speaking about it too.
Talk about breaking the chain.
Oh, absolutely.
And this year in particular, there was a little bit of a problem, because we're talking about menstrual hygiene products and it being as necessary as toilet paper and their hygiene, and then in the very same day we're having committee meetings where they're talking about middle school girls may not be able to talk about periods because there's bills that are going to prevent them from talking about bodily functions, due to the fact that bills are going to prevent them from talking about those things at that age. So,
yeah,
yes. It was kind of an interesting year in that respect as well. So
we need to speak up. Everyone here knows that, but we can't get lazy. We need to stay connected and stay together. We do meet here once a month because it helps us to focus, right? We know all of us here care about issues that we're all facing, and we can improve the community. But I know that if I'm not stopped to focus, if things don't get my attention. So we want you to keep on being involved in the Women's Fund, all of us, please. We are going to stop in a minute. We do meet instead of meeting for an impact collaborative, we have our signature fundraiser with the Power of the Purse, which is an amazing thing. If you can't attend and buy a ticket, you can volunteer. Just ask Kami. Our silent auction, nobody knows it. You're the first to know. It just went live this morning. So you can go ahead and bid right now. That's online. And, we have to thank our sponsors, because none of this gets fueled without them. So these are our big Power of the Purse sponsors. We still have a month to sign up. Jan and others to please join.
She froze, right?
I thought it was me, but I think she did. Okay, I wasn't sure for a second.
Alrighty, well, no problem then. I can keep going. So our Power of the Purse will be this coming May 5th. Please make sure to volunteer or to get your tickets. It's going to be a great one. And then we will meet again for Impact Collaborative on June 1st, where we're going to be doing our Advocacy 104. We've been doing our advocacy trainings for the past 2 years. So this is our 4th one, and we're really excited about it. It helps you understand a little bit more how to connect with your representatives, your commissioners, and how to advocate for the issues that you really care about. So excited to see everybody there. Join us if you can. It will be hybrid, so in person and also virtual. Please make sure to take our exit survey. Your feedback is super important, and thank you so much.
And thank you again, Kami and Vivian, everybody participated, whether you're on camera or off, an empowering Impact Collaborative. Thank you all.
Thank you for having us, and everyone was amazing. And I just want to shout out all the coalitions that are here, and Glenn and everyone, because we've been working so hard on this for so long, and Takeda and Ashley, amazing. And thank you guys for doing this for us, putting this together for us. We love and appreciate you. Thank you.
Stronger together, together. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, and please contact the next committee of reference so we can get it on that committee's agenda. It's the Education and Employment Committee, Chair Masulo. I put his contact info. I even gave you a letter to write to him. I put a link to that information. If you complete it, you can contact me at the office if you need it again. Contact them and make them put us on the agenda.
People want to know, I've got a lot of questions there. How do we attack the Don't Say Period bill, et cetera, et cetera. So I think at least everybody's now connected, and Kami makes sure that everybody who wants to be connected with you all later will be able to do so directly. We're weaving a stronger fabric for the community. It doesn't have to be through us.
I'm so sorry, I forgot to say this. So I did want to put this out there. Anyone who is interested in getting a deeper menstrual health training, I am going to be offering a free workshop at the office for Menstrual Hygiene Day in May. So if you would like to come and just get a free menstrual health education workshop, please come. And I'll share it with you.
Do them virtually, Nikki?
I do them virtually also. This one will be in person because I want to do some hands-on product stuff with everyone as well. But yes, I can do them virtually too.
Kami, I'm thinking maybe impact agents. All right, I think we're gonna stay in touch, everybody.
Yeah, Nikki, if you can share with us that information, we're happy to blast it also.
Absolutely.
And maybe set one up.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, can we get we'll be able to get a recording of today?
Yeah, so please, team, please post in the chat to everybody. So womensfundmiami.org is our website. And the menu, the drop-down menu at the right, you'll see Impact Collaboratives, which is our name for these monthly sessions. And all of the recordings are there. This we edit out the beginning and this blabby end. We keep it to exactly the 1 hour. And it will be up there by tomorrow. And then also you can also look at it YouTube. And
I'll share it with you, Amy, when it's ready.
Please, everybody, share it. If you're just interested in Representative Skidmore's recorded portion and you want to show it to your outreach group, if you just want to take it, what Stephen was talking about, and patch it in a little bit of, something that the representative was saying, do that. Please, this is your tool. Take it and run with it. Jasmine, if you want to reshare the whole thing with one of your classes, or please, this is yours, your material.
Thank you. I will. Don't worry about it. I definitely will.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
All right. Keep up the good work. Stronger together. I'm recharged.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.